Welcome everyone to tonight's session on district grants. My name is Henry Wong. I'll be the tech host for tonight's session. I've muted everyone, and so feel free if you have questions during the presentation, just put them in the chat window, and then Kathy will have time at the end of the presentation for questions as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy for tonight's presentation. Kathy, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. And we're going to go through a short PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to talk about, we're gonna have some open discussion time. So two things. One is that, more than two things, there are links to documents which everybody who does training should access, and it's at the district website. And I think Henry has posted them. So let's go on to the next slide. Our vision at Rotary International, where people unite and take action to create lasting change. This is what we're here for as Rotarians, and why we are so interested in grants and why I love grants with Rotary. So next we have, what change do you want to make? You as a club, as a group, as individuals, maybe other friends and other Rotary clubs. It's good to get started on that thought. Next. Select an area of focus. Now, although with district grants, it's not required to have an area of focus if your grant is less than $5,000, but it's highly recommended. It's a good guideline. It's a good way at least to get the conversation started with other Rotarians and within your club especially. There are focus now that the Rotary Foundation has identified, the newest of which is protecting the environment. Now, in the downloads that I have directed you to, there is the 2021 to 22 TRF Terms and Conditions document. It goes into detail about what areas of focus have to do, and there are links. The nicest thing about that document that they provided in PDF is there are hyperlinks to different parts of their website where you can get loads of resources. So please do download TRF Terms and Conditions and use the hyperlinks. Next slide, please. Consider partnering with other Rotary clubs in our district especially. We match up to a certain amount, and the more within district funds. We cannot match funds outside of district. So talk to your friends in other Rotary clubs and get together and collaborate. Next, please. So what's available? We have one district grant per club per year. The funds are managed by the district. Your project can be local or international. Now for district grants, the total project budget as outlined by the Rotary Foundation is under $30,000 or up to $30,000. Global grants are $30,000 minimum and up to, well, it's complicated, but we'll bring Kathleen Davis in at the end of this so you can ask those questions. District grant proposals, a very short form. They're due September 15th. Payments that we get money back from TRF is usually available for us to disperse in November each year. Next slide, please. What's required to be a lead club?
Kathy, I can't hear you.
What's required to be a lead club? You sign the MOU, and the MOU will be sent out from our district to each club president every June to July. And if you have 55% or more of your League Club members donating to the annual fund, averaging $100 per member each year over a 2-year period, you can have 100% match up to what we have available as a maximum. All matching funds come from your club donations to TRF. They come back to us after 3 years in the district designated fund. Part of the district designated fund goes to district grants and part goes to global grants. Next slide, please. The maximum we have available this year, and we're hoping to do up to $10,000 maximum. We're not yet sure because we don't know exactly what we're going to have to work with, but bear with us. We believe it's going to be a maximum $10,000. So if your club has not donated as much as you would like to TRF, you're still available at a 50% match, not 100%, but a 50%. So if your club has, $8,000 on the table and you'd like some money from the district and you have no partners, we can offer up to $4,000. If your club has qualified at 100% and you don't have any partners, we can match up to $8,000. So there's a chart there, look at it. We have a program overview download. Please review that carefully. Maximums can be reduced if we get a whole lot of requests that far exceed our available funds. So bear with us, we'll do our best to fund everybody as much as possible. Next slide, please. Examples of what we have funded recently: food bank delivery vans, sickle cell podcast, food bank appliances. You can read the list, a bunch of smart Rotarians. Again, it can be in our area, it can be outside. You get to decide what is going to be best serving other people. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. Proposals all need to be in before September 15th. I highly recommend, if you're not sure about exactly what the details in your proposal should be, send a draft to me. You don't have to give me a final pretty paper, but if you have questions, send stuff to me, and anytime before September 15th, I'll get your questions answered and you can get a real solid proposal on the table September 15th. The proposals come back to me and there's going to be an initial review. I look at things and go, you got something missing here, or maybe strengthen that there. And then you have an opportunity to do that. The proposals are evaluated by a team, not me per se. I just give the initial overview. There are 10 team members across the district. Every proposal is reviewed by at least 2 individual Rotarians. We have some great members on our team who are highly qualified with grants, who have worked for large organizations and who are attorneys and who are in finance or speak different languages. So they do know their stuff, and I'm really honored to work with such a great team. We have an evaluation criteria by which we score every project. So in addition to Rotary terms and conditions, we have a scoring sheet, which you're able to review so you can see what the evaluation criteria is and how the score sheet works. It's a Gantt chart. So the strongest proposals score the highest, and they're the ones that are most likely to get fully funded if funds are tight. If things are not as strong and it can't be strengthened, we may ask you to go back to the drawing board and adjust. Try to make things stronger. Next slide, please. Evaluation criteria in a nutshell. These are, the definitions are available on the evaluation criteria PDF, but these are just them. There's just a few points, but they get scored. So please be aware and do read through our evaluation criteria. It is important. Next slide. In addition to district grants, we have what are called urgent community need grants. So we've had small grants available before, but because of COVID, we have found that there is more call to have urgent community need grants because there are things going on in the community, as we all know, that need to be met right away. They do not have a set deadline, but I do recommend if you know of something that needs to be addressed, fill out these proposal forms are available online. Fill it out, send it in. I think these go to Jeff. So we work until the budget is used. You can also collaborate with other clubs. Say, for example, in your area, there are 3 clubs and there is a need, talk to each other. You can collaborate and put your money together and address your community need. Next, please. We also have Rotaract grants. Now, Rotaract grants also have a deadline, and that is September 15th. The proposal form is on the district grant website, 5030grants.com. They can partner, Rotaract clubs can partner with Interact clubs, with other Rotaract clubs, with other Rotary clubs. And we really encourage everybody to collaborate and address what needs to be done. These are hands-on and local. So bear that in mind. Next slide, please. Email me if you have questions. I'm happy to work with clubs directly. We can do a conference call or a Zoom meeting and help work through any challenges, questions, issues you might have. But please do upload the forms and you can see all contact information at 5030grants.com. And now we can open up to, let's see, I think we have Kathleen Davis available. Is Kathleen here? Hello?
Yeah, I just needed to unmute, sorry.
Perfect.
So for global grants, for those of you, well, even if you did or didn't go to my lecture, the maximum, I put this in the chat room, for global grant matching with DDF, with the district funds, is a maximum of $15,000 per club and $22,000 per project. So you can do more than one project, and then you get that for each project, but that is the maximum. So when I see and then the other absolute requirement is when you're ready, when you have maybe 3/4 of your funding and some more sort of promised, and you're pretty sure of it, and you've got all the questions filled out on the app, then you can send it to me, Kathleen Davis, daviskathleenk@gmail.com. That's also on the 5030 grants thing. And then my committee reviews it for the DDF. So if you're wanting matching funds from the district, when you're about ready with your proposal, you should send it to me and I'll send it out to my committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. So we can open up for Q&A. Anybody has?
Kathy, we have 2 and it came in from the chat window. So one was for your email, which Kathy put on the slide, but I posted in the chat window as well.
Okay.
One question is, if you're doing a district grant partnering with an international club, do you need an MOU from them?
No. That's for a global grant, but not a district.
And then there was just another note about the September 15th due date for Rotaract, which seemed a little
Yes.
early.
Yes. No, we have to get them in. We have to know how much money we have to work with overall. So if we don't have everything in on September 15th, we're guessing, and that's not a good spot to be in.
Awesome. And then I see one comment about the forms, trying to open the forms. So I did post a Google Drive link that makes it a little easier to access them. You should be able to download them and then access it. But if not, then the District 5030 grants site, which I posted, is really the landing spot for them. That was the other link was more for if you wanted to take a quick peek during this meeting.
Yeah, I'll try, but I can open the PDFs. It's just the Word docs are not working. I might have to try a different browser, but thank you.
Kathy, I think that the club has to sign an MOU with the district if they
Yes.
want any matching funds.
The
But the
lead-
MOU that we use in the global grants is an MOU to the other host country in that country and other people who provide service. So it's confusing because there's two MOUs. But right in July, your new president should sign the MOU with the district. And then, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question, Kathy. In the
Sure.
past, when you did not have enough applications, you actually entertained a second application from a club. Is that
That's true.
still the case?
It is true, although we don't know what it's going to look like this year because of COVID, there's less money and more demand. So we don't know actually. Suggest you get your best one forward, and if you have one in backup, see if maybe one of your partner clubs would be able to lead it, or it's just not a good bet to guess that there's going to be money left over. We have no idea.
I may have missed something, Kathy. Are the applications for this coming year, are they already ready to be sent out or for us to pick up?
The forms are available.
Okay,
They're available for download here, and they're available online
is that recently then?
very recently.
Okay, 'cause I picked up the old one and used it as a draft, but I'm ready to put it on a new one.
It's somewhat similar. I think one of the biggest things to be aware of are the area focus at the top. Each project shall have one area focus, and it's super helpful to use the link on the top of the form to read about what RI defines for each area focus. For example, you wouldn't guess it, but kitchen gardens are not related to health. They are under community development. Okay, so, but you've got to read through it to see really where your project fits. And we do encourage that all projects have an area focus, although if it's under $5,000, it's not required by TRF. However, it will affect your project score. That's one of the ways we gauge the strength of a project. This is how it's focused.
Hi, Kathy, we have a question from, and Steve Carson, you may have to clarify, but the question was, isn't the district grant form the club MOU? Steve, do you want to clarify? Steve Carson, do you want to unmute and clarify the question?
The district grant form has places for each of the club current and next year's president to sign on the form. Does that count as the MOU?
No, the MOU is a document provided by Rotary International, and it is updated each year, and it's quite separate. Basically promises everything you have that you're going to do things correctly.
Okay, that's a lesson I've already learned. So,
Okay.
question about area of focus.
Mm-hmm.
We have a project that Harley is leading right now that has multiple areas of focus. Everything from hygiene to education to gardening and chicken coop, and
Well, pick one.
just pick one. Okay.
Yeah. You know, see what fits best, you know, and it doesn't, lots of times things do cross over, especially if you're working with chicken poo, you're going to wash your hands. But you're talking about community development if it's a kitchen garden.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and get on RI's website. There is a link at the top of our latest form and the program overview. So you can click on that to read all about the areas of focus. They made it really pretty and easy to understand. Anybody else?
I'm Christine. I just have a question, Kathy. By attending this Zoom meeting, does that qualify us for participating to write a grant?
It qualifies you for having received the information.
Okay. But is there more to it?
From each club.
Do we have another thing that we have to do
There's
that we want
so
to
much. I
do?
want to bore you to tears. I'm sorry, say that again.
Is there another step? I think there's another district grant writing event on May 20th. Is that actually when you're actually writing it or not? That there's nothing like that.
I can answer that because I'm giving that one on the 20th.
Because Kathleen,
Yeah. So on the 20th, what I'm going to do is go through a global grant application step by step. So if you are writing a good global grant, if you're about to write a global grant, then come to that. And if those things aren't true, you can spend your time better doing anything else.
Okay, thank you. Who is that? Who is
Kathleen
that?
Davis. I'm head of global grants.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
just confusing people by having a similar name. No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, so Kathy's talking about district grants, the ones, there's one and only, and as she said, September 15th is the deadline. Global grants are the bigger ones. And I gave that talk I gave that last week, thank you. I gave that talk last week, and so it'll be on a recording.
Okay.
And yes, those two do count for qualifying, those two.
And these are all recorded, so you can, we can make up for it. And yeah, if anybody misses it or not enough people from a club have attended, it will be available. So we can make everybody qualified.
So when you say you need to have 2 people from each club, is that at one or at every one of the grant workshops?
Two humans from your club have to attend one of those 2 lectures each. In other words, a total of 2 is the minimum, but obviously the more people, the better.
It's really handy to attend both, and if 2 people. Why we ask for 2 people is even though some clubs are smaller and it's harder to do that, There have been times where we've lost a Rotarian and nobody knows what's going on with the project. So we really need people trained, know what's going on, and connected and invested in the projects.
Makes sense.
I have a couple questions in chat, and then I'll get to Garrett with his hand up. One of the chat questions is some stats, Kathy. So the question was, how many district grants do we fund each year? How much DDF money do we disperse as district grants? And then there's also a question on how many district grant applications are denied and the reasons for those.
Oh, it varies quite a bit. I don't remember how much we had this past year. I think the total available for district grants was approximately 120,000. I think 113. We shifted some money for the urgent community need, so I may be a little off there. In very flush years, we've had up to 140,000 available. We have, I think we have in the past 8 years, perhaps 3 projects have just not qualified for funding. And reasons have varied, but mostly they just didn't meet any of the criteria, or they did not meet any of the or significant portions of the TRF terms and conditions. Terms and conditions sometimes change because sometimes they have to do with buildings, construction, new construction, buying property, certain types of travel, who's qualified for travel, who hasn't qualified for travel, and that shifted a little bit over the years. So changes for scholarships, what types of scholarships, all over the board. So historically doesn't necessarily give you a roadmap for what will happen now. Is there another piece to that question?
I think you covered the main things. Garrett, I'm gonna go to you with your hand up. Feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, it was already partially answered. It also was in regards to having 2 people at each of the trainings, because I missed the one that was last week, I think on the 6th. And I don't know if anyone else attended it from my club, but it sounds like maybe you could get a recording of that in case we didn't have 2 people. We have 2 people at this meeting, so we're halfway there at least.
Qualified, but it's good information to know. Kathleen is brilliant.
So how do we get a recording of last week's meeting, or can we just attend the next grants meeting to qualify?
Kathleen? Is Kathleen still here? Henry, how are the recordings available?
So like last year, the recordings are getting posted kind of as they happen or as they're ready on the district YouTube page. So I believe probably in district communications or the newsletter, you'll start seeing the direct links. But I think if you go to YouTube and you can just search District 5030, you should be able to get to the channel that has the presentations.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then there was a question related to that too, Kathy, about receiving your slides. So I'll be sending Kathy the list of attendees today. Would you be able to send the slides out to them?
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
another question. Yeah.
I'll send packets to anybody. If they're having any issues with downloading, just send me an email. We'll fix it.
And a question from Colleen Turner. Once a club has accepted the funds, what are the reporting requirements?
You have up to 2 years to complete a project, and the final report is due within 2 months of completion of project. And there is there is a report form that is updated annually. And I believe RI provides the updates. Definitely it goes through Jeff before I see it. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, easier than a global grant, but still a lot of the same issues need to be covered. You need to know it's done and the money's been spent correctly and receipts are gathered and, you know, take photos. Let's get a nice piece to talk about we can put in our district newsletter.
Any other questions? Again, feel free to put them in the chat window, or you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Okay, I think if there's no more questions now, so everyone has, Kathy left her email, which is in the chat window. And again, the recordings will be made available on the YouTube channel soon. And then you'll be getting a copy of the slides from this evening. But thank you everyone for
Perfect.
joining. Thank you,
Alright.
Kathy, for the great
Thank you.
presentation.
You have a good evening.
Thank you so much.